Well, welcome everybody to our Saturday morning webinar. We are so glad that you chose to spend a precious hour with us today. And it's really important to talk about time, and that's what we're going to do today. My name is Judy Feldhausen, and I am your co-host today, along with the fantastic Mr. Robert Wischmeier. Welcome, Bob.
Thanks, Judy. I don't know about the accolade, but thank you very much. You're a sweetheart, and I appreciate it. We want to talk about how important time is. It's either going to be our great asset in all of this, or it's going to be a liability. There it is. Invest it well. It's that one thing that you can't get back, right? You can make more money, you can do other things, but boy, you can't get time back, Judy.
No, you absolutely cannot. And I know when I was younger, I didn't worry about time as much. There seemed to be more of it. You know, I remember endless summers when I was a kid, just enjoying those 12 weeks. And now, my gosh, 12 weeks seems like overnight sometimes. Our calendars are so tied up and busy, and sometimes we know what we're doing and sometimes we don't have a clue.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, we get bushwhacked from time to time, don't we? We think we're right on top of things, and then something comes up. It's just a fact of life. And I think I always had it in my mind that when I got older, it was going to be rock sitting in a rocking chair on the porch and chilling and just enjoying things. And it hasn't been that way for me. I'm maybe not as busy as I used to be, but I'm still busy. I probably move a little slower than I used to move, but I still am busy and stay busy, and I still have to take into account the hours of the day. I still live off of my calendar. I look at my calendar every day. I watch that calendar. I adjust my day according to my calendar and what's on that calendar. Time lost is lost. Well, we just don't get it back. And we think about that, Judy. I think about that sometimes versus time well spent. And there's a real difference. So in our personal lives, our business lives, we need to be mindful of time, Judy.
Absolutely. And, most of us listening to this webinar live, at least, do not do Synergy full time. It's part of, the quilts part of our life. It's one little block of our life. And so we really have to make some difficult decisions sometimes on where to put Synergy in our lives. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, is how to mesh this all together and make the best use of the time we have.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The bottom line with regard to any kind of a home-based business is that our productivity is what will determine our paycheck, right? That's if you fail to plan, if you plan to fail, you fail to. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I've got that all confused this morning, but you get the drift. Okay. My mom used to say I had all my teeth, but my words hadn't come in yet. Sorry about that. But we have to, all of us have to stop and consider if we're going to create a home-based business, like with Synergy Worldwide, for example, we have to take the time to do it. We just have to stop and think about, well, why am I doing what I'm doing? What path within Synergy Worldwide am I going to follow going forward? Am I going to just be a product user? Am I going to be a product sharer? That's an interesting term, but that's like what my daughter is. My daughter Jess uses our products and she talks to people about them, but she has no interest in being a business builder or creating a business from Synergy. So we have to kind of figure that out. And our commitment to whatever path we're going to walk down really is going to determine how our business is going to grow, Judy.
Yeah, that's so true, Bob. So what we really need to do is create some type of plan, and not just for Synergy, but I think we have to include it in our whole life's schedule to figure out how much time we want to spend and how much time we have to spend on our synergy business.
Yeah, and it has to fit our goals, right? It has to fit into our schedule. It has to fit into our why, if you will. So we have to plan it out. I mean, that's just, to me, it just is common sense, but we can all use a few tips on the best way to go forward and use our time well for our personal lives, our business lives, make it all fit, make it all mesh together.
Yeah, that's so true. So the first thing to do is really make a commitment for your business. What are those times that we can work, and where do they fit in the schedule? You know, I know for some people it's in the middle of the day, for some people it's evening only, for some people it's a combination, depending on what's going on in our lives. I know that for me, I am going to Florida for a couple of weeks, and I will not have as many hours to spend on my synergy business because I have other commitments while I am there. So we need to flow with it, but we need to set a standard so we can adjust from it.
That's exactly right. You block out the hours of the week that you want to work on your business. And every one of us is different. When David Munoz gets up in the morning and puts his pants on and gets started for his day is going to look different than my day is going to look. I'm going to put my pants on as well. But the balance of my day is not going to look like David Munoz's balance of the day, or Dan Hammer's, or Judy Feldhausen, or anyone else. We are all different. And so we have to figure that out. We've got to figure out what time-wise, what's best for me. Is morning my best time to work on these things? Afternoon, evening, whatever it is. And for me, I like methods. I admit to that. I'm a little bit obsessive about things, but I have a morning schedule. When I get up, there's a series of things that I do pretty much every single day to launch my day. And in the morning, that's when I'm working on certain things. So I figured that out for me. I have a early in the morning schedule that I work on, and then a before I go to bed schedule that I work on. It's my downtime at the end of the day. That works really well for me. But we all have to get into our own routine and determine those office hours, and then have enough whatever it takes to schedule those time blocks.
Absolutely. And also with the realization, I think, that it's not going to be perfection, because things happen in our lives, in our day. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that a little bit later on. But if it doesn't go right, don't beat ourselves up for it. Figure out what went wrong and try to then figure out what to do better next time.
And you never know what that's going to be. I was busy working yesterday afternoon. You all are aware, I've been building a house for my sister, and there's just a lot involved. And it's springtime, and we have spring work to do here on the farm. It's just been a busy time. I got a call yesterday, absolutely out of nowhere. A man called me, a guy that I don't know very well. I've met him a few times, had a few little bitty conversations with him, but I really don't know him. And he called me and he said, "Bob, my wife died yesterday." And I don't really even know his wife, to be honest with you. I've met her before, but don't really know her. And he asked me if I would speak at her funeral next Wednesday. You talk about throwing something into your day that you had not planned on. Preparing and writing a funeral talk would be one of those things, Judy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Things happen, right?
Things happen. Things happen. But as we're planning, we want to look at, now that you have that block of time, gosh, what do you do with it? Because I've got an hour to spend here on synergy, but what do I do with this hour? So that's where some more planning comes in. But what was helpful to me when I learned about this is like, oh gosh, it's not just about making phone calls, or oh gosh, it's not just about following up, or it's not just about paperwork. There's actually a plan here about how much time we should spend on different parts of our business.
I think it's really neat that when Synergy put this Path to Prosperity workbook together, they took these things into account. One thing, you guys, that's extremely important with a home-based business, like with Synergy Worldwide, as our example, of course, we need to spend the majority of our time in building and working our business, not administering it. When we stop working our business, when we stop looking for quality exposures and expanding our business, when we stop doing that and start managing our business, things slow down. Things really slow down. So just keep that in mind, how important it is that you spend the majority of your time building and working the business rather than managing your business. Once you begin to manage, things start to fall off.
And Bob, it doesn't make any difference what position you are in with the company. I was in another network marketing company. I remember that I went to this, leadership, high leadership level. And the first day after I got there, I'm sitting in my office going, well, now what do I do now? I'm a leader. And it took a while for it to hit me. It's like, well, but I'm still a distributor. So I have to continue to do distributor things, right? Because I won't stay a leader unless I do that.
And all of these things that we have on this slide here are just really, really important to understand that whatever we're doing here, whether we're talking with other people, promoting our products, whatever, doing presentations, phone calls, all of those kinds of, every one of those things is considered marketing. That's marketing. That you're working your business when you're doing these things, right?
You really, really are. And and for me, it's one of the funnest things to do, because it's being able to connect with other people. And I like to do that. So
yeah, and I've mentioned this before, Judy, but I really miss the meetings that we used to have. I've spoken at a lot of events. I've put together a lot of events and symposiums and all kinds of things through the years with Synergy Worldwide, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the camaraderie and all it was a part of getting together as Synergy distributors. And I'm really hoping that we'll have that opportunity again here really soon.
Yes, and from what I understand, that Nature's Sunshine is starting to do things. So I think it's going to trickle down to us as well.
Yeah, that might be one of the things we'll chat with Josh McCall about in a couple of weeks when we have a chance to visit with him again.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, besides the fun part of the marketing and the talking to people, is the other part about supporting our team, supporting our customers. And I look at the supporting as both the same as supporting a customer and supporting a builder. We need to do both, and it's a whole aspect of really teaching about the product and the businesses, and really educating our customer base so that they'll buy more and maybe they'll want to become builders also.
I remember several years ago, we were hosting a little bit, just a little event. It was like a breakfast or a luncheon. I don't remember now, but Bobby and Janice Smith were there. A bunch of the Montana people. It was in Montana. We had a whole bunch of people there. And back in those days, we almost exclusively talked about cardiovascular health. That was our total focus. Every time we got together, we talked about nitric oxide therapy, pro-arginine. Everything was focused on that. And when I had an opportunity to get up and to share a few thoughts in that particular meeting, I remember it well. I talked about some of the other products that we market. And there were a handful of people in that room that really sort of didn't realize that Synergy Worldwide had more products than just Pro-Arginine Plus. I started talking to them, of course, about everything else that we had to market. And I had those things with me so those people could see those other things. The point being that it expanded the people's vision that were in that room that day. People came to talk about cardiovascular health, but they also learned other things. We taught them about other products that we market. So that educational process, that continuing education, was expanded to the people that were in that room that day. And it's an endless job, Judy, that support, teaching, educating the people that are part of our organization. It's an endless task. I used to think sometimes that it could get kind of a little bit boring sometimes, where you're always going over the same thing, going over the comp plan, going over, placement, proper placement, and all of those kinds of things. So you have to make it so it's exciting and not boring.
Yes. And now that most of us are doing things from home, those mentoring calls are so important. And whether it's mentoring our business builders, our team, or mentoring our customers, getting on the phone with people is very important. And one thing that's not here that I had thought of is that supporting is also in the form of emails. And maybe it's your monthly email program that you're talking about the products, or maybe it is something about the business that you want to share with your team. But don't forget that's also a big part of our business now, is that social media part of it, not just emails, but maybe doing some teaching on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube.
Yeah, well, and we have access to the great videos that Dan has prepared for us, created for us. We have access to all of Synergy's information as well, which is just a keystroke away or a mouse click away. But I think with respect to mentoring calls, there is nothing that takes the place of an actual conversation, especially a face-to-face conversation. Emails are great, text messages are great, all that stuff is great, but there's something to be said for a conversation. It's personal, it's personal. So I'm a big fan of calls.
Well, yes, and you can find out someone's why, whether that is why they want to get better or why they want to make money. And with that information, you can help them achieve their goals. And you can't do it one-sided, that's for sure.
Yeah. Text messages are great if you don't want to have a conversation.
Yeah. So I text messaged my tax man yesterday and said, can I drop off my taxes? And he said, well, I'll just stop by. Well, he was here for an hour and a half and we didn't talk taxes.
Exactly.
No, and it's so cool when the tax man comes and says, hey, I need a hug. I haven't seen you in so long.
I love it.
Yeah.
But see, that's it. That's that difference between the text message and that personal relationship. It makes all the difference in the world.
It really does.
That's cool.
And now we get to the administration part, where I know of some people that love this part and they can get stuck here.
Oh gosh, I can get stuck here. I'm the world's greatest at looking at paperwork. I know something's wrong with me. I've always liked paperwork. I really, seriously, I like numbers. I just like paperwork. So anyway,
I'm going to hire you, Bob. I'm hiring you.
I can get hung up with administering really easy.
Yeah. So my biggest win was when I got rid of my desk, because I have a problem with paperwork. And I tell you, my desk, even when I had an office, my desk was piled high with paperwork. Like, what in the world is all this paper doing here? I had to do this. I had to, follow up. I had to pay pay the bills. Oh my gosh, it was just absolutely awful. And so finally, through actually the help of a coach, she didn't suggest this, but it was an aha. It's like, if I didn't have a desk, I wouldn't have paper. So, so I don't have a desk. People think, how can you work without a desk? But everything now is online, it's computerized, and I print out the paper when I need it, and then I throw it away.
I think we call that file by pile, I think is what we refer to
Is
that.
that what it is?
Yeah, file by pile.
Oh my gosh, I was the queen of it, I tell you.
Well, that's awesome. See, that works for you. That works for you. I live at my desk. I mean, I've got a beautiful old antique desk with a dark red leather top. It's even got a cattle branded right into the leather on top of my desk. It's an old cattleman's desk from Montana. And I spend a lot of time here. This works for me. And so I'm outside most of the time, but when I'm inside, I tend to be at my desk. So that works for me. Doesn't work for Judy.
And I looks like I forgot to put, see how much I love administration is that I didn't put that it is 20% of your time.
Yeah,
So,
right.
So just
20%. Yeah.
20%. So the supporting and the marketing is really where the bulk of your time should be spent, at least over a long period of time. You know, I think that you can't divide that up per day, right? You can't do 40, 20 every day, but 20% of the time overall over in a month or so would be administration, or 40% would be marketing. But some days I know I spend my entire time just reaching out to customers. That's all I'll do.
Yeah. Well, success really is scheduled, if you will. You know, success is scheduled. That's just how it works. And you've got to support your team. You have to market. That's your number one priority. And we've already discussed that. Administration is, you know, that's kind of at the bottom end, but it doesn't matter. When you die, you're still going to have stuff in the inbox, right? I don't care who you
Exactly.
are. It's
But,
still going to be there.
Yeah, but without the administration part, how do you know who to follow up with? How do you know when to follow up? You know?
Yeah. And how do you know? The other thing too is learning to delegate. Who can you delegate some of that? And that's a possibility as well for some of us, not everyone. That was my introduction to Synergy Worldwide. There was a up and coming distributor who was a big guy with a big dream and a big goal. And he says, I've got 400 distributors under me. He says, I can't keep track of it. Would you come and manage this for me? That was my introduction to the business side of Synergy Worldwide. I kind of went to work for a distributor to manage his business for him. Back then, that was it worked out for a few years. And Jude, I think you ran into him. But
yeah. And you know, when you're talking about delegation, it's not just delegating your work from your Synergy business, but maybe there's other work. You know, I had someone come in and clean my house. So I didn't have to do the floors and do all that stuff because I wanted to work on the business and not work on the house. So there's other places to delegate so that you can find more time for your Synergy business.
We have to be wise too. And I think that's a part of it. I was in a bit of an accident a few days ago where I had a ladder that kicked out from under me, and I just nearly broke both of my legs.
Oh my gosh.
Both legs are just a mess right now. And those kinds of things happen when you, sometimes I'm more brave than I am smart. And so as a result, I called a friend and said, hey, his name is Kendrick, and he's a younger guy. Hey, Kendrick, can you come over? I've got this high work I got to get done, and my legs just aren't what they used to be. I'm 70 years old, and I need this high work finished. And so anyway, he came over yesterday to help me finish up this this deck that I'm doing for my sister. It's you have to be wise and figure, okay, the things I can do, things I can't do, things I want to do, things I don't want to do. Act accordingly. If it costs you a little bit, it costs you a little bit, and it's worth it, right?
It is worth it. So now that we know how to divide our time, really what happens in the real world? Well,
Yeah.
a lot. You might fall off a ladder, in fact, things happen. And those distractions can ruin the best laid plans of what our day is. And I know a lot of what you have said, Bob, in the past was, sometimes you just want to get back to where you started from at the beginning of the day because there's so many distractions.
Well, there are. Yeah, there are just so many. It's like that phone call that I got yesterday completely took me off what I was doing. I got off a tractor to take the phone call. You get things happen in life that just take you in a completely different direction. But some of those things can't be planned on or even scheduled in. But other things can, and this is a great slide. I look at the look on that poor dad's face there. His sweet little girl up there playing on his computer, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, now what?" It's like when your cat jumps up on the desk and lays down on your keyboard, that kind of a thing. But there are ways to eliminate distractions, but you have to acknowledge and recognize what those distractions are, Judy. I think that's really important too.
Yes. Turning off your email, your social media, making sure that the notifications on your phone are silent. All my notifications on my phone are silent almost all the time, just because I don't like to handle those distractions. However, with Jeff, his notifications are on all the time. So when we're in the same room, I get distracted by his notifications. So,
Yeah.
We have this conversation on, can you just turn it off for a little bit? Because I don't need to know that someone's Facebooking you, whatever.
Yeah, some kind of a ding on your phone.
Yeah.
But one of the things in our Path to Prosperity workbook, a thought that they shared is that awareness is the first step. And then the second step is cutting down those distractions, and to do it fast. Get it done, cut those things out. But awareness is the first step. And I think that's important for all of us to be mindful of. Be aware of what is distracting us if it's something that we can control.
Absolutely. And then that setting of the boundaries, so important. I remember doing some coaching work with one of my distributors years ago, and she said, I can't get any work done because my mom moved in, and she's continuing to come in to my office and asking questions and what do you want for dinner? And, I can't, I don't know how to record on your VCR. I'm, constantly. And until she set some boundaries with her mom, she wasn't getting any work done. Not that she loved her mom any less, but her mother finally realized, oh yeah, you're working. Okay, I can let it wait and hold for an hour. That will work. So setting boundaries is so important.
Well, it is. And, don't we try to teach our children boundaries? We do. The boundaries are really, really important to understand that there are places we should go and places we should not go. Just be around some little kids anymore and you find out that they don't understand boundaries very well. It's different than when we were children. But setting boundaries is really, really important. And especially in a business situation, we're doing business from home. It's not like we're going to a store to work or to an office somewhere to work where we can just sit at our cubicle and focus, which, that kind of work's almost a 4-letter word anymore. But the point is that because we're at home, we have to figure out what those boundaries are going to be. And so once we get that, act accordingly.
Exactly. And distractions are going to happen, right? Because we are working at home. And one of the research showed that when someone is distracted, that it takes 25 minutes to get back to it. So that's why this is important. However, there is a way to get back to it quicker. And what I like to do is to do something called focus shift, because the phone's going to ring, and you know what? I'm going to answer my phone because it could be a customer. It could be a chance to market. So I always answer my phone. I get rid of the phone call if it's not,
Right.
in my time
Right.
slot, and I tell a friend I'll call them back or whatever. But being able to shift your focus back to the task is so important. And so I always bookmark before, when I'm distracted. I'll either write a little note or something to know what I was doing, because sometimes when I get back to the computer, it's like, now where was I?
Where was I?
doing? I have 20 tabs open. Which tab was I working on? I'm not sure. So
That's so true. And the workbook makes note that 2.1 hours a day is the average for an employee in America to be interrupted. 28% of the workday, out of an 8-hour workday, 2.1 hours of interruptions. That's amazing. That's like
it is
10 and a half hours a week.
And you know what? I heard
interrupted.
some recent data that said it's more like 40% now. Because with
probably
people
so.
working at home,
Right.
I have neighbors that work at home that in the middle of the day, they'll come over. I'm like, aren't you working? Oh yeah, but I'm taking a break. Oh, okay.
Yeah. 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 And it's not a half a cup of coffee break. It's an hour-long chat with the neighbor.
Exactly. So, anything else on distractions? I got distracted there for a minute, Bob.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking the same thing. Well, we need to eliminate distractions. We need to learn to manage them as well. And I think it's just a part of experience, and it's just a part of figuring out in our own lives and in our own world what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Exactly. And that's what this next slide is all about, is really, not only just delegating, but with everything in your business, really do it, figure out, do it again, repeat it, but then ask yourself, is it working? Is it not working? And what do we need to change about whatever this task is? So important.
So important. It's like the old carpenter says, I cut it twice and it's still too short. we have to figure out what's working and what's not working, right? And what do we need to change? And I think that's pretty basic. We're kind of coming to the conclusion of our webinar today, but this is just pretty straightforward. What's working, make it work, keep doing it. If it's not working, step away.
Mm-hmm.
We are all stewards, aren't we?
We are all stewards. I just love this, thinking that, we're stewards of our minds, of our possessions, and of our time. All three of that is so important. So when I saw this picture, Bob, I thought of you and your wheat fields.
Yeah.
And how you are really a steward of the land where you live.
I have a video on my phone. In fact, I'm going to send it to you, that I shot from my road, looking back at my house across a wheat field. I'll send that to you. It's lovely, but it's true. We are stewards, every one of us, and we have a responsibility within our Synergy business. If we have sponsored people to come into our business, we have a responsibility to take care of them. And so we need to look at our business, recognizing that there are other people who are going to be depending on what we do, how we do it, all of those things. We're stewards. And so, be organized, use our time wisely.
And one of the things that is not in this part of the book is the ability to ask for help. So if it's not working and you can't figure it out, ask someone about it. Look to someone else, or use your, what I used to call mobile university. Find a book about it and read about it. Do something so you can figure out what you need to do, so that you can make that best use of your time in whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah. There's an old cowboy adage that reminds us that we need to be true to the brand that we ride for. In other words, we've chosen Synergy Worldwide as our company of choice. This is where we're creating our home-based network marketing business, and we need to be true to them. There's much that's required of us in that respect, being true to the company that we represent. And we need to act accordingly, I think. If we're having a struggle with something, we don't share that struggle with the people who are below us in our business. We may go to our upline. We may want to talk to somebody at corporate and say, look, I don't like this, or I don't think this is working right, or whatever. But we don't complain to the people who we are supposed to be mentoring and tutoring and bringing along. I think that's just good counsel. We are stewards. We have a responsibility for the people in our organization. We need to be positive with them and be upbeat. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And with that, I think that is the end of our presentation today. Do we have any questions or comments before we say goodbye?
Judy and Bob, thank you. The only comment that I have is sometimes people get intimidated by the concept of marketing. And if you simplify marketing, like you've tried to help simplify, how to set your day up, all marketing is letting people know what you're doing. Mm. And then it's just choosing methods that you want to do that. So I appreciate everything that you've said, because it helps people to see that if they're not spending time marketing, because most people spend 80% of their time administrating, they're just not going to see growth in their Synergy business.
That's true. Absolutely true. As Judy and I go forward over the next few months with leadership development, or the concept of leadership development, we've talked before about it would be nice if we could organize this particular webinar so that we have more response, more interaction with the rest of you, with everybody that gets on the webinars with us, where we can open mics up and have a little bit more conversation. We would like that. I don't know, Judy, what do you think?
I think that's a great idea. That's one of the things that has been on my mind lately also, Bob. A way that we can, I don't know if you want to call it mentoring or masterminding, but we all have different ways of doing things, and we need to share that with each other. Just like David, you're doing the Bomb marketing. What a great thing that you're introducing to people that want to look at how to market via video.
Could I just say something, not to that effect, but just to the presentation you gave?
Sure.
This sometimes when we work alone in our own business, we get bogged down in a routine that is non-intended. And the value of these Saturday morning sessions that you like the one you shared this morning is so important to me, because I frankly don't have, or have not made the time to look at the resources that you've just presented, just simple ideas to manage your business better. So thank you. This first slide if you could just go back to the first slide, where it says plan your time. One more time. No, one more. It says plan your time right there. Yeah. That one was so valuable to me, because as I said, we work on our business alone for the most of the time. And these workshops that we have, we call, or these webinars we have on Saturday, are so valuable, because it gives us the opportunity to be aware of ideas, marketing ideas, and organizational ideas. And what happens to me when I work alone in my business, sometimes I get into bad habits. I get into the habit sometimes. Yes, I do marketing, but sometimes when I'm just planning and getting a great idea, I'll answer my phone, and it's just like you were saying, we have to have blocks of time where we don't answer phones so that we're not interrupted, and we don't have to reset our thinking and go back to the thoughts we had. One of the fears I have is says, well, if I don't answer this call, well, I might lose them. They may not be available. I'll lose a sale. And that's something that I personally have to get over and create blocks of time, just like these slides have shown, where I'm breaking up the time into marketing, 40%, like you say, 40% into supporting topics, and of course the 20% into administration. So I just want to thank you guys. Sometimes I just need this. I need to look at and review and get this. And had I not set a block of time out for the Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, I may not have been, I may not have correcting myself, the opportunity to correct myself, to find out why sometimes my marketing or my efforts or phone calls doesn't work, because I'm not blocking off time. So that was my thought. So I just wanted to thank you guys. This is a great presentation. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, David.
Thanks, David.
I just want to say thank you, guys. And you asked if this makes sense, and all of this, today's presentation makes sense. And I like the suggestion of the interaction. I remember when we first started, it used to be probably 6 of us, and we would have discussions, to just support each other. And it's one of these things that from your suggestion that we should probably go back to. And and I feel guilty somewhat that I haven't been able to support Bob on Mondays, and I've got to find time, block out some time to do that. So thank you. And yes, this all makes sense. And one question, what's become of Jean? Haven't heard anything about her. And I was just wondering, she used to be with us a long time ago, and I remember hearing anything about her. Anybody have an answer?
Yeah, Jean's still using the product. She still loves the product. She started doing a networking event to help her with her business, and that became so successful that it's basically taken over her time. And so now she has a women's networking group of probably a couple thousand women, and she has 21 chapters all over the country, and so she's pretty busy with that, and then with her family commitments.
Thanks for answering, and it's good to know that she's being successful. Thanks, Judy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we missed Jean. I mean, I just love the girl. Seriously, she's my good friend, and I remember the first time that we met at a Synergy event down in Utah all those years ago, and gosh, what a cool girl. But I miss her too, but this business that she created, this networking business, is really something. Anyway, good for her. Good for her. And I think they're moving to Colorado, aren't they?
They bought a house in Colorado, yes, and they're going to be selling their property here in Chicago within the next year, because many of her kids moved to Colorado, so she wants to be closer to family.
Sure. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. All right, guys. Well, thank you all so much. Appreciate it. And Judy and I will be getting our heads together as we look forward to maybe a little bit different direction with our Saturday webinar starting next month. So we'll have our heads together, and we'll talk to you all later.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, you're welcome. God bless everybody. We'll see you all again.
Thank you, guys. Very valuable.